Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about angelic magic. There are two reasons why I'm making this video today, and the first reason is, first of all, angelic magic is really cool and very underrated. I've been wanting to make an angelic magic video for quite some time. I have now been practicing it for about 4 months. I wanted to share my own personal gnosis on this, but second, if you're new to my channel, I am a chaos magician, an occultist, a witch, a psychic, but chaos magic is what I primarily identify as. And as part of a chaos magic practice, there is this process of belief shifting or paradigm jumping, and I'm not really going to explain that whole process in this video. I'll link a video down below titled Chaos Magic and the Avoidance of Dogmatism that really kind of deep dives into that topic. I also have a whole Chaos Magic playlist on the homepage of my YouTube channel that you are welcome to check out because I've talked about it many times. But the second reason why I wanted to film this video is to really show what it looks like for a chaos magician to shift their belief into something new, deconstruct their psyche, and potentially gain some personal gnosis as well as some really hopefully effective methods. Also, I should probably include here that I do plan to work with demons or infernals as well. I actually did do a ritual just recently with a demon from the Goetia, and that's like a whole nother rabbit hole. So hopefully I will have a demon video for you guys in 6 more months. I don't know. I don't know when that's going to be exactly. But for right now, I'm just focusing on angelic magic before I go too deep down another rabbit hole. So without further ado, I have a lot to catch you up on that's been happening the last 4 months. Let me take you all the way back to June, the very beginning of the summer of 2024, and I'll just fill you in after that. It is a beautiful, bright and sunny day, so I'm thinking I'm gonna take the dog on a walk to the park. There's a park maybe about a mile from my house or so. So we'll go to the park, got a little backpack where I can put my book in there, and then hopefully it's peaceful. Hopefully there's not too many people there and I can just read in the park. But the first book that I'm gonna be reading is Angels and Archangels, A Magician's Guide by Damien Eccles. He has another book called High Magic that I think he is most well known for. I have not read that book. So I am brand new to Damien Eccles and his writing. I'm really excited to read this. If you're on my Instagram, you may know that I recently had a huge shift in energy. It was caused by a painful separation that I had to go through. And then I just started getting all of these signs, and I don't know, I just recently have been called to potentially work with angels, which is so weird for me to say as a former atheist, and B, now a pantheist, chaos magic theory prescribing, animistic, agnostic person. I don't know, I've never believed in angels and I've always had a really hard time getting my belief behind that. If anything, when I worked with them in the past, it was more like psychological archetypes or working with your higher self within your own psyche. So I'm really interested to see what this book entails and see if it calls out to me and see if I can challenge my own beliefs around this a little bit. I really want to make myself feel uncomfortable. So let's head to the park and give this one a go. As a chaos magician, I really believe in paradigm jumping or belief shifting, and this is where you are shifting your perspective, launching yourself into a new paradigm, and fully immersing yourself, adopting those beliefs so that you can tap into your subconscious mind to manifest your desires. And that it's a whole conversation in itself, but that's the very short, watered down definition. But when I start reading stuff like this, that is, I'm still in the introduction. I'm on page 11 right now, and it just sparked me to pick up my camera because there was something in here that I really like. But I wanted to say every time that I jump into a new paradigm, I always look at it sort of like a fun spiritual game. What are the rules of the game? I need to learn the rules so I can figure out how to play with them. And so in the introduction, he is defining the concept of will and he's defining the concept of ego. And though they aren't definitions that I would personally give for will and ego, these are not my rules. These are his rules. And I am currently learning his rules to the game. So I'm trying to dismiss any thoughts in my mind that may reject what this author is trying to say, because I truly do want to immerse myself in this new paradigm and really challenge my own belief system. But one thing in the introduction that I really liked is the fact that the author discusses how his approach to magic is the 90-10 rule, where 90% of it is for spiritual development and spiritual connection, and 10% of it is for manifestation. There's nothing wrong with using magic to manifest, but in his perspective, he really values 90% of it to be towards achieving enlightenment or trying to deepen your spiritual connection to whatever entities you're working with. And I like that. I do agree with that. Also, even though I'm only 11 pages in, I'm already loving it so far. I know it's very bold to say. Hopefully it keeps it up because I really am enjoying this so far. So I am now on page 27, and it looks like, so the first 26 pages are really kind of an introduction to the book of how it's laid out and how to work with it, etc. So this is the beginning of part 1, and it's kind of like a dictionary of different archangels. And then part 2 is how to work with all of these archangels and different techniques and modalities to invoke them. So for each of the archangels, we have the sigil on the left, the name of the archangel, and then a full description, keys to visualize the archangel, and then some reasons to invoke that particular archangel. This book is actually turning out to be a very, very quick read. I am already on page 166, which I think it's over halfway through the book, mainly because part 1 is just kind of a dictionary. It's very quick to read the descriptions of all the archangels and figure out which one you want to work with. So I'm in part 2 now, where it talks about different techniques to use to invoke them. There's an archangel meditation here that I kind of want to do as I'm sitting in the park. So I'm going to select an archangel that calls out to me and do this meditation, and I'll let you know how it goes. Well, it's a good thing I'm in this park by myself. I just did the meditation, and I think it was probably not wise for me to choose the archangel I did for the first go around. I chose to work with Gabriel. Oh geez, my mascara is gonna be running now, yikes. Let me just show you the stuff that I was visualizing so I can better explain my experience. So Gabriel is the archangel of water, of the west, associated with autumn, love, and the subconscious mind. And so some keys to visualizing Gabriel are blue robes, holding a chalice, and anything associated with autumn, like cool air, the smell of fallen leaves, etc. This also happens to be the archangel over love, the subconscious mind, emotions, and things like that. So some reasons to work with Gabriel is to overcome anger or melancholy, to heal any form of emotional wounding, and for anything related to pure love. So I thought that this was an archangel. This is the one that spoke out to me the most, that I probably need the most. And I don't know why the meditation made me cry. I was sitting here, maybe it's because I'm in a beautiful park, you know, and I can hear the birds and the butterflies are fluttering around, and I am totally alone, minus my dog, of course. And I just happen to pick an archangel that has to do with emotions. But I just felt so much love. Just this simple short meditation of visualizing those symbols in front of you, behind you, and then to your right, and then to your left, and then kind of filling the entire sphere was so powerful. So I think I'm gonna try to do that many, many times a day for multiple days and see what happens. Am I into angelic magic now? Is it happening for me? I think part of the nostalgia too is that this is such a full circle moment for me. For those that have been on my channel for a while, you might know that I was into ceremonial magic when I was a teenager, and that was so long ago. And one of the reasons why I left is that I couldn't get myself to believe in angels, demons, any of these entities or energies. I was very much an atheist at the time, and I was frustrated with myself because I wanted to believe. I wanted so badly to believe in this external energy that I could harness, but I just couldn't get over my atheism. And so I think part of the emotion with this as well is it's a full circle moment. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting journey for sure. So I think I'm going to stop here for now because I'm at a good stopping point. I only have a little bit of the book left to read, so I'll probably finish reading this book tonight. So I just finished the book and I wanted to wrap up my thoughts about it. I really liked it. I thought it was very beginner to intermediate friendly. I think this book may have been a little too beginner for me, but there's still a lot of exercises here, especially in part 2, that I really want to try. So I think I'm going to take this book slow and actually do some of the exercises. I'll pick maybe just one exercise a week for the next couple weeks and see how it goes. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of rituals here that I was already familiar with, like the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, bibliomancy, shielding, meditative stuff, mantras, etc. The lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram. So stuff that I've already done before in my past, but it's been a while. It's been a really long time since I revisited any of this stuff. So a reminder is always good. But yeah, so I did enjoy it. I think it's a good launching pad. I think it's one of those books where it can pique your interest and really draw you into the subject a little bit further, especially if you're a beginner and maybe intimidated by some of the other books. I thought he did an excellent job of making this practice very approachable. But then I also think it's a good idea to probably use this as a launching pad to read other texts and to learn more after that and, you know, advance your craft. I just can't believe how emotional I got earlier. I can't believe that I actually cried in the park alone by myself. That's wild to me. And something I was thinking about too is that I could sit there and rationalize all the reasons why I cried in that moment. I could say, well, I've had a really stressful week, which I have. I've had an incredibly stressful week. I've also released a lot of things in my life that I didn't necessarily want to let go of. I was also alone and it was a beautiful day. It just felt ethereal being in this park by myself. So there's tons of reasons why I could have been emotional in the moment and I could rationalize the entire experience, but I'm really challenging myself and trying not to overanalyze the situation because I want this to just be. I want to allow this to organically develop. I want to really try to believe in this new paradigm as it's meant to be. I want to give it the respect it deserves and just kind of take a leap of faith and, I don't know, see where it takes me. So 4 months later, here we are. A lot has changed since then. Also, I did not realize that my bangs would be the bane of my existence while filming this video, so they're just gonna be pinned back for the rest of my filming career because my goodness, I don't wanna have to continue adjusting them every 5 seconds. So a lot has happened since that day when I connected with Gabriel in the park. I really first started connecting to Gabriel, and when I connect to a spirit for the first time, I really wanna learn everything about that spirit. I wanna learn the mythology, the lore, the historical literature around that particular entity, if there is any. I also really like to work with entities through lucid dreaming or just dreaming in general. So what I'll typically do is I'll find some sort of token. I'll either consecrate a talisman or create a little sachet bag with correspondences to this entity, or sometimes I'll take an oil, like a frankincense oil or a myrrh oil or some sort of oil that corresponds to the entity. I will anoint a candle and then I'll put that candle on my nightstand. I definitely don't recommend falling asleep with a candle lit on your bedside. That's not what I'm trying to do here, but late at night when I'm feeling a little bit sleepy and I want to connect in a dreamy landscape, I'll anoint a candle, put the candle on my nightstand, and then just kind of let myself lull into a trance and see if any messages or some sort of symbolism comes through from the entity when I'm in that altered state. And then I'll usually come out of that altered state, blow the candle out, and then go to bed. And sometimes just that light meditation before going to bed actually helps increase prophetic dreams or just the ability to recall the dreams in general. So that's what I like to do. I really like to connect to entities through dream work, learning about them, invoking them, calling them in at various points of the day and just seeing how I feel, maybe sitting down to do a little bit of divination with them if I want to pull out my tarot cards or what have you. So for the first couple months, I only connected to Gabriel. What I felt with Gabriel was this total love and healing presence, which is very different than Michael. So I started working with Archangel Michael, and though I love Gabriel, I really felt held and supported by that energy. I really resonate with Michael. So I've been working with Michael actually a little bit longer than I've been working with Gabriel. And this is a really big deal for you guys. This is a really big deal because I was not comfortable with this at first. And to get myself here to where I'm working with angels, having visceral responses, receiving messages from them, it's a pretty big deal. So my work with Archangel Michael has been wild. Let me talk about the personal gnosis with Michael and how it differs from Gabriel, because I feel so vibrant and alive and energetically charged when I work with Michael. He makes me feel powerful and strong. I feel like I have a warrior with me wherever I go with his flaming sword. We're ready to go into battle together. So I've been diving into Archangel Michael, learning everything about him. I did try to do the dream method with him, and that was a huge mistake. For me personally, what I found, I had a consecrated oil specifically blessed by Archangel Michael, and so I had anointed a candle, put it on my nightstand and attempt to do like a deep trance, a deep sleep with him. And oh my gosh, did he, after I blew the candle out and I went to bed that night, I had the most restless sleep of my life. My dreams were so vivid. I was like violently rolling around. It wasn't like I was having bad dreams by any means. It was just a very active and energetic sleep. And that was just, okay, I learned very, very quickly early on with Michael that his presence is very energizing for me, and that is not good for sleep. So I did not, we're not going to be doing any dream work anymore with Michael. What I've really been doing is I have been calling in the 4 angels at various points of my day. Every single day I call in Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael. And as I do this, I have created my own chaos technique, I should say. It's not the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram by any means, but I do touch various points of my body as I invoke them. So I would call in Gabriel on the west, Raphael in the east, Uriel in the north, and then Michael in the south. And I think those correspondences can differ slightly depending on the literature you're reading, because I've read conflicting things about the directions that are associated with each of those 4 archangels, but I've created somewhat of my own invoking ritual / cleansing, banishing ritual. And so I will call them in first thing in the morning at various points throughout my day. If there's a particularly, stressful situation happening, I just want to detox my energy. And then I'll do it right before I go to bed. And let me tell you, I feel so supported in every way. I did not realize that I would have this intense of a response to these angelic beings. I just kind of assumed, I don't know what I assumed going into this, but I definitely didn't expect to love it as much as I do. There was also a seance that I hosted with some coven mates, and I actually called in Archangel Michael to be our gatekeeper spirit to kind of kick out anybody that we didn't really want in our space. Wow, was that effective. Oh my gosh, I have never had a more effective gatekeeper spirit than Archangel Michael. So I'm definitely gonna keep doing that. I will say, he maybe kicked them out a little bit too quickly and a little bit too aggressively. So I think I need to work on that relationship a little bit better, work on my communication. I also ended up, I hope this gives you inspiration, by the way. I hope this inspires you and gives you lots of different ideas and techniques for how you can connect with the spirits that you're working with. But I decided to consecrate 2 talismans. Well, technically one's an amulet, one's a talisman. I think I have a video on how to make amulets and talismans as well. So I created this amulet using a fiery wall of protection oil consecrated with Archangel Michael, and I cannot show it to you because now it has been consecrated and I am no longer able to share. That's one of the frustrating things getting into this kind of work is spiritual contracts. There's certain things that the spirits that I'm working with don't want me to share online, even though I really want to share. So it is it's a fine line that I'm figuring out how to navigate. I can't actually show you the pieces, but I will describe them. So the amulet that I made is a protective stone that I anointed with that fiery wall of protection oil that has been consecrated by Archangel Michael. At the time of making the amulet as well, I did invoke his presence as I was doing it. And then I basically assigned the intention on the amulet to be a tool of protection. So anytime I'm needing a little bit extra protection, I want to use that flaming sword of Michael, I will put it on and carry on about my day. The second one that I consecrated, the talisman, so Michael is often associated with the sun, whereas Gabriel is associated with the moon. So I chose, my little chaos magician heart chose a sunstone for Michael, and I may actually do a moonstone for Gabriel at some point, although I'll probably find a better crystal that corresponds to Gabriel. I just like the idea of a sunstone and a moonstone, but anyways, I took a sunstone necklace and I dedicated it to Michael, and I'm using that as an aid of communication. So again, I consecrated it, not using the fiery wall of protection oil, but using a different oil that helps to enhance the communication between you and the entity. So anytime I wear this particular talisman, I am signaling to Archangel Michael that I'm open to messages and insights, only when I'm awake though, because lesson learned, not doing that while I'm sleeping. And yeah, so the last 4 months has been really illuminating, working with Gabriel and Michael together and then calling in the 4 archangels at various points throughout the day. I do eventually, my next project is to work on Raphael, developing a relationship with that archangel, learning about Raphael, and then I will work on Uriel last. And then once I have developed really strong relationships with all 4 of these, I'll probably create a little bit more of a proper ritual with the 4 of them rather than my very chaos inspired daily ritual that I've been doing. Man, who knew I would love working with angels so much? I seriously, you guys, I never ever thought I would get here. I never thought I could get over my religious trauma, my uncomfortability, and I want to talk about God, the concept of God quickly, because as most of you know, on my channel, I'm more of a pantheist than anything. I've talked about this multiple times where from the chaos magic perspective, your belief is everything. You use your belief as a tool to manifest the things that you desire. Feeding your belief in something then makes it real in your reality. I am of the mind that spirits can exist and also simultaneously not exist, depending on the dimension of reality that your psyche is operating from. And when it comes to God, I don't necessarily believe in the idea of a God sitting in an upper world looking down and maybe controlling things in our lives, etc. If anything, I would say I'm more of a pantheist, where I believe that God is really interspersed in everything on this planet, whether it's you, me, rocks, trees, cats and dogs. Everything in this earth has a little bit of godlike essence. That's at least how I personally describe pantheism. And I also kind of believe that we are God experiencing itself. So I know I'm gonna get questions like, how can you work with angels and not necessarily believe in God? And my answer is, I think God is a much more complex topic than angels. Going back to reading that book by Damien Eccles, I really enjoyed his perspective because he was explaining that angels are not really these objective humanoid entities, but more like these orbs or balls of energy. And that's kind of how I like to think about angels, is these energies, these archetypal forces that we can harness and call upon to unlock different facets of our psyche. So the conversation with God, I know I'm going to get that question. It's just so much more nuanced. I honestly don't think our tiny little pea brains are ever meant to know the answer. So if it works, it works. If you do something and it works, why throw out the baby with the bathwater, is all I'm saying. If you're interested in Angelic Magick too, I did a video a little bit ago. I'll put it up on the screen and I'll link it down below, but I talked about, there's timestamps on the video, and I think the last timestamp is purely dedicated to Angelic Magick books. So it was a book haul video, and then me also talking about how my practice is changing, where I started working with angels. And I talked about a lot of really, really good books, some great book recommendations. I have read some of them by now. Definitely go check out that video if you haven't already, if you need some good book recommendations and a good place to start with angels. I talked about this book in that video, but at the time this book had not arrived yet, so I really kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit more. So this is the newest version of John Dee's 5 Books of Mysteries, and this was produced by Joseph Peterson and Wiser Books. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. I am slowly working my way through it. I showed it on my Instagram as well, so you can see some of the pages. It's really pretty. So John Dee, if you don't already know, he was so many things. First of all, he was alive 1527 to 1609. Wanted to double check my notes on that. But he was a mathematician, an astronomer. He was an advisor to Queen Elizabeth I. He was also an occultist, and he actually worked with Edward Kelly to develop this system called Enochian Magick. If you're not familiar, Enochian Magick is purely working with angels. Him and Edward Kelly were really attempting to communicate with angels, and that whole process that they developed, now called Enochian Magick, has been woven into so many different practices today. Even thinking about the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, they took pieces of that, and it's really actually kind of a very different version. If you go into various ceremonial traditions like Golden Dawn, for example, they'll work with angelic beings, but it's very different than the origins in Enochian Magick. So going back to the source, and I say source loosely because working with angels definitely predated Enochian Magick, but source as in this system itself that kind of wove itself through a bunch of other traditions can be really, really rewarding. So I read the first 50, 70 pages, something like that. Actually, where am I at right now? Yeah, so I read through page 67, which the first 65-ish pages are all an introduction to John Dee and just Enochian Magick itself, and gives you a little bit of context about, you know, what these 5 books of mysteries are and their importance. And then it actually goes into the 5 books. So I started reading a little bit further of the actual books of John Dee, and it is unlike anything I've tried to read in any occult practice. I'm sure that other people who are familiar with Enochian maybe can resonate what I'm about to say, but I feel really dumb reading it. I do, because I feel like, whoa, I should have a prerequisite before I go into this, especially because I was never a religious person. I wasn't raised with angels. My father was very, very atheist, so for me this is all brand new information. Maybe for someone who has a little bit more of a background and is a little bit more educated in different angels, it might not be as difficult, but for me it feels like a completely foreign language, and I've heard from others that that is not a singular experience, that a lot of people might find Enochian magic really intimidating and really intense at first. So I'm very, very excited for a challenge. And so that's the current project that I'm working on. I wanted to kind of move past the Golden Dawn angel magic or my own chaos versions of working with angels and really get to the good stuff. Not that the other stuff isn't good stuff, by the way, it's all good stuff, but you know what I mean. I really, really wanted to challenge myself. So Enochian magic it is. So that's where I'm at. Wanted to give you all a quick update on that. Really hope that you found some inspiration in this video, hopefully some new ways of connecting with the entities that you're interested in working with. I'll keep you all updated and we'll see how it goes. See you all in the next video.